free will. It doesn't matter what line of thinking you use. If you believe there's no planner, then there's no free will. If there's a planner, there's no free will. And you could argue that, well, since there is no planner, we obviously have free will, or the planner grants us free will. But if the planner already knows what's going to happen, and it gives you the free will, I mean, you can argue that that's not free will, but it isn't, in the sense that you're doing what you want to do. But if you're created with somebody before you knowing what you're going to do, that's not really free will. Although you're doing what you want to do, but it's already been ascertained. So that implies fate, or the fates, plural. But if it's the domino effect, which I would argue that neither one of those starts at any particular point. It's just a thing that, it's like a positive feedback loop. It just keeps going. It never starts. It never ends. It has to start somewhere, but oh, here. What the hell? Never showed it. Okay. There it is. It's backwards to you, but it's Shakespeare. Forever and a day. Anyway, it started somewhere, it will end somewhere, but the loop itself doesn't really end or begin. But free will, yeah, we have it. I mean, yeah, we're gonna do what we want to do if it's at all possible to do it. It doesn't matter if it's something you want to do or something you don't want to do. If you do something you don't want to do, it's because you're fulfilling a higher purpose, which is what you really want to do. So you have free will, but it's determined by you. I mean, that ends the argument there. I would hope it does. But, some might say, yes, because I'm supposed to fulfill a higher purpose. Yes. But that purpose is the thing that you intend to do. It's not because you were called to do it. It's because that's what you intend to do. Well, I intend to do it because it's how I'm made. Yes. So you have no free will. But you're doing what you want to do. You want to do it, so you're going to fucking do it. You're going to do it. If at all possible. And I would argue on some level that you want to do it because it's how you're made, but the argument is also there that you're made that way because that's what you want to do, which is to say that you've done that to yourself, which is what karma boils down to. I'm not trying to be like a Hindu about it, but there's no way around that. I mean, Thomas Aquinas saw the same stuff, and he was a devout, very devout Catholic. And Catholic and Christian are the same thing. Oh, I'm a Catholic. No, I'm not a Catholic, I'm a Christian. Catholic and Christian are the same thing. Christians are derived from Catholics. They all follow Christ. They're Christians. You can be a Buddhist and a Hindu and a Christian all at the same time. it could be an atheist version of those, and Buddha was pretty atheist. I mean, he did that to get you to focus more on your own actions, your own karma. There's Hinduism has quite a few people like Alan Watson, Sadhguru Jaggi visited. Also, Buddha boiled down religion to have no God, so that they would take the focus off of God, because God became an idol. And this was before, Jesus, by 600 years, and then 1,200 years before Muhammad. So this is a progression that started 1,200 years, and leading up to events that deeply affect most of the world now. This is 1,200 years old. And it's a communist thing, but very few people know how to work communism, Marxism. And Stalinism were both communist points of view, but they didn't work, because very few people know how to actually work it. John Lennon's Imagine is based on communism. It's about how it should go, which also points out how it fails, because people don't understand it. I'm not saying that I do. We get the picture. We share. We all benefit from each other's skills and such, but no money would be involved. It'd be trade. No religion could either mean that there's no God in place, or your religion doesn't matter to the other person in a good way. Because if it doesn't matter in a bad way, then they kill you because you have the wrong one. Your religion doesn't matter to them. They want you to have theirs. But in a communist sense, there would either be no God in place, or there would be a universal it that was understood differently by all and accepted in the same way. You be you, I'll be me, kind of thing. But that's down to free will again. You can't have your beliefs taken away. You're going to do, if possible, what you're going to do, what you want to do, because that's how you're designed. And design doesn't mean that there's a plan, or that there was a personal thing, a person-like thing that was there, and then decided, oh, well, Joe Dokes is going to be this way, and Jane Allen is going to be that way. Yeah, there were people. Your parents, your grandparents, your great-grandparents, yeah. There was intelligent design, but there wasn't a plan. You probably had shitty parents. We all do. Nobody's ready to be parents. It's chaotic. You are their chaos, and they are your chaos. From the very beginning. Look what happens when you come out of your mother's body, whether it's a vaginal birth or a cesarean section. Yeah, C-section. It's chaotic. It hurts you, You come out of the womb screaming. The reaction they look for, the positive reaction it's a good sign, is if you're screaming, your eyes are seeing light for the first time with this amount of intensity after being in the womb and seeing maybe a pink, purple light, maybe. Now you're under fluorescent lights, or sunlight, or candlelight. Any of that would be intense as a motherfucker. And now you've got winds blowing across you that are not the temperature of your mother's womb. I mean, what the fuck? And your mother has just pushed life out of her body. Or had it dragged from her, depending on the method of birth. But your mom chose to have you. I mean, she chose to make you. She chose not to abort you, and if you've been aborted, you're not watching this, but she chose to abort you. And I would argue that the mode of being in which you exist before you're aborted shows. I don't mean consciously. I don't mean like you said, like there was some you that sat there on some cloud and went, let's try this, and then went and got aborted. But that was your mode of being. But since all things are possible in the universe that are possible, I would argue that since there's an obvious consciousness within the universe, I mean, it's there. It's made itself manifest for 4.5 billion years on this earth. And it's progressed and regressed at the same time. I mean, look what we can do. We have the atom bomb. We have nuclear power plants. We have airplanes. We have cigarettes. We have beer. We've got gas ovens and microwaves. We've got refrigerators. As we progress, we equally regress. Every action has an equal and opposite reaction. There's a checks and balances system. And like Alan Watts pointed out, that I've heard most succinctly put, why would anybody choose to believe that the universe is a monarchy but the best form of government is democracy? I mean, everything works exactly like everything else. You don't know where your thoughts come from. They just happen from every point inside and outside of your body. Because of every reason that can be found inside and outside of your body. But those are all within some sort of something or other. Gravity. Again, thoughts. The reason that if I put my face to this phone, it doesn't pass through. It's blocked. They're all the same. The same. What causes the sun to shine? What causes the heart to beat? The lungs to breathe. That's the basis of meditation. The way the lungs operate. Your breathing. Free will. it free? Absolutely. Is it controlled? Yeah. By God. And again, if you think for a moment that you are not God, and or you are not the devil, you are up shit's creek without a paddle. God is like a father. There is no he that is there that is a father. Existence itself and everything that allows existence to be, which is the positive space, things that take up room, and the negative space that allow things to be within that space. Those are God. And you are that. I mean, Neil deGrasse Tyson gets away from the personal God, the person like God. And so do Stephen Hawking and, like all the household name scientists that have been around. I mean, Einstein was God. It's like a father. It's like a mother. Gods and goddesses and all these different gods and goddesses that describe different aspects of the universe. Well, yeah. But if there are, which there are, different qualities to existence and the cosmos, meaning the order of being, the universe itself, the way in which things are, suchness, then we have every right to call this aspect of existence a feminine or masculine personality. But that doesn't mean that it is a person, or that it has a personality. In fact, to call it a person, whether he or she, or to restrict it to a personality, is unfair to that aspect of being. And how fucking dare you? How fucking dare you? It is not cool, man. It is not. Because you undermine everything that it is when you equate it to anything else. I mean, that's the only way we can define things. But to make that an absolutism is unfair and inhumane. We're in a time now where there should be equality yet separation. But to separate ourselves, or to separate the it that it is from us, is downright stupid. And there's no excuse for it. It is universal. The thing that scientists are talking about is the same as what the believers are talking about. But they either fail to see where it equates to the other side, or they do see it and they rage against going into that good night. And it's not a good night as in death or sleeping. It's finally waking up. There's no way to separate what these people are saying, except for by words. And we can keep them separate by talking, or we can unite them by talking. But we're all talking about the same thing that came from the same place at the same time. Granted, we don't know what that thing is, or where that place was, or what that time is, or was, which I would argue would be is. There's no real way to separate it. I mean, we regress ad infinitum, but always to the same point. And that doesn't mean that there's a person there. And that doesn't mean that science is right. That doesn't mean science is wrong. That doesn't mean there's not a person there. But science, I believe, is at its core wrong, even though I believe in it every step of the way. You know, what the truths that it finds, I hold religiously. And I believe wholeheartedly that there does not need to be a God, a person-like God in place for the existence to carry on. It would make no difference. My only argument is that, like, the greatest of scientists and science communicators, and I'm not differentiating. I'm expanding. What's the word? Trying to augment. Not trying. I'm augmenting. I'm probably being obtuse. I'm not trying to shut down anybody. Thoughts together here. I am trying to augment the scientists by saying that they are agreeing that language falls short of what they really mean. That being said, I am also trying to augment the believers of whatever kind, whether it's monotheistic or polytheistic or whatever. Deist, theist, whatever. You, as you have been trying to say, you've been saying nothing different than the scientists have been saying since the beginning. I think that we can all agree that language is the problem. Even if we're using the same language, the words we're using, the minutiae and such. The philosophy behind everything. We're saying the same thing. I would say empirically. But pride gets in the way. And if we go into no, it's it's facts, objective. Yep, right. Some of us can do the math, some of us can't. But we know what we know. We may be mistaken about something, the shape of the earth, be it flat or round. It's round, yes. Buy a fucking ticket, get up in an airplane, it's round. Any airplane, just go ahead, go up a little bit. A helicopter will even do the same thing. Just go up a little bit higher. A tall building, fantastic. The earth is fucking round. But it doesn't have a choice over that, does it? If it was flat, would it have a choice over that? No. It's designed that way. But those particles that create that flat or that round Earth didn't have a choice either. We do. We go where we decide to go because that's how we're built. We have the free will to do what we want to do, but we do that based on how we are formed. And formed doesn't mean anything like planning. I mean, you can't say that a raw diamond is formed, but the diamond on your finger is formed, assuming you're wearing a diamond. You go to you go look at anything that you go to buy, it's been formed out of something that wasn't formed. It was grown in some way. Bless you. So, free will. Yes, we have it. It was given to us, but we're going to use our free will in the way in which we were formed. We were designed. Designed, again, doesn't mean that there was a plan. It means we were formed, period. The form is the design. So is there free will? Yes, but you're going to use the free will in the way in which you were designed. So is there free will? No. In the sense that you're going to do what you're going to do and you can't help doing what you're going to do. Do you have the choice to do that? Absolutely. You can completely forego that for a higher purpose, which again wouldn't be free will because you are designed with that higher purpose in mind. Designed meaning formed, which again is grown. You were just grown that way, just like an apple or anything else. So there is free will within the confines of your construction, the construction of your mind. So go with it. Don't worry about it. But if you're going to worry about it, that's cool too. That's also how you're designed. It's all right. It's cool. It's beautiful. I mean, that's people's. Jordan B. Peterson says that. I struggle. Hold on. Sorrow? Sorrow? I think it's sorrow. Sorrow is the purpose of life. Sorrow. I don't think so. Is it sorrow? Some S word that's depressing. Anyway, that S word is the purpose of life. It's true, but in the sense that the language is wrong. It gives life purpose. It gives life meaning. Anyway, it gives life meaning. But that comes from the choices of you and the choices of others. The choices of others you can't control. Well, you can a little bit, but not really. So that might lead somebody to ask, why try? Again, you do have free will, but that's only confined by your makeup. So why try? Because you can influence others. You can be the action outside of them that governs them toward a certain thing. Whether it's good for them or good for you, or only one or none or both. You have that power with your words to create it. Whatever it is, you know. Six on one. I'm trying to remember what the hell that word was. Anyway. You don't have a choice over what you're going to pick. But you have the free will to pick between any option given to you. The options themselves are there based on how everything already was. You know, which means that the past is decided by the present, and so is the future. So you have the power to determine the past. Especially if you know or can guess pretty well what's going to happen in the future. And you have the options, you know, to pick from, so you have the free will to pick between those options. But you're only going to decide based on what the options are and how you're constructed. You know, your proclivities, meaning, you know, the negative sort of things, and your habits, which are the neutral things, and the amount of goodwill you have will be the more positive things. Those things will interact, and some will cancel the others out, and vice versa. So you've got free will, but it's only so free. You're kind of on a long leash. It's not chained in any one place. I mean, you can hang yourself with it, or you can bind your wrists with it, or you can shackle your feet with it. You choose your vice and how far you go with it, but it can only go so far by design. So do your thing. And you've got the bumpers going down the alley. You won't wind up in the gutter. And if you were given every option, isn't there a pretty good chance you'd take the option you have now? No matter who you are. I mean, no matter what color, what sexual preference, what sex. You would take this option. You would. If there was a choice, you would. Maybe not this time. And I'm not saying there's going to be a next time. I'm not saying there was a last time, a previous time. But you would take this choice. If you had the option to take every option, you'd take them all right now. but right now has a past, a present, and a future. So that takes a bit of time. But you would choose this option. If you've had a mediocre life, we'll say, and you had the option to take a grander life, you'd take it. If you've had a grand life that you can no longer stand, you might well take a mediocre option or a horrific option. You might. I mean, look at suicides. Look at people who commit suicide living a grand life. Look at all the artists that have killed themselves. Robin Williams, Chris Cornell. I'm going with musicians here, but Chester Bennington. Well, yeah, Robin Williams isn't a musician, but he sang and things like that. So. Artist nonetheless, actor. And they are all psychologists, by the way. They have a very deep understanding of the inner workings of people. I'm trying to see what time it is. 5 after 6. They had the choice to get famous. They didn't have the choice over how famous they stayed. I mean, hence the song Hotel California by the Eagles. You can check out anytime you like, but you can never leave. They checked the fuck out, but that made their presence even more well known. So free will? Yeah. No. Yeah. No. It's 6 of one and half dozen of the other. It doesn't matter. It's a pointless question. I mean, it sucks to say that, to admit that to ourselves, that it's a pointless endeavor, to pursue free will and, to pursue whether or not free will exists is what I mean. But it's equally pointless to not dive into that. Do what you're going to fucking do. If you don't struggle, which you have the free will to do, to struggle against your free will. Try and be a good person. And I submit to you that you should be a good person, because that's within you as well. And that will go well for you. But if it's in you to be a bad person, do that, but do it to the best of your ability. It will work out best for you, even if you kill yourself, Hitler, and improve the world after that. It's like Daniel Tosh joked about the Twin Towers falling. Now we don't have to deal with our spouses or significant others as we drop them off at the airport. It's funny because it's true. But at the same time, thousands of people had to die for us to get that, so it's not that funny. But it's also true. And that's the way it is. But at the same time, we have seen what humans consider to be evil. Stalin, Hitler, Bin Laden, Pol Pot. And we can grow from that. We can't grow away from that unless we see that it in and of itself is bad, evil, detrimental to human life. I mean, hell, look at what even animal life. Look at what the the atomic, the birth of the atomic era doled out. All those sheep tied to all those sheep tied to battleships when the bombs went off on the atolls and whatnot. What the fuck is that? Yeah, it's gonna kill them. Why? Why do we have to do that? It's because the paperwork is more important than anything else. We had to show on paper that it would work on things that are smaller. But they do it in a worse way than we could ever imagine, so obviously it would work on us in a not so bad way. So it's more humane. Ish. But free will, yeah, we've got it. No question. The question is, where did it come from and how do we use it? It comes from, it emerges from existence itself. We have to cross a certain boundary into sentience. But if we don't, it doesn't matter. I mean, a rock comes from lava and goes back into lava if, regardless of whether or not we're here. It happens. It always has, it always will. Will being operative, I guess. But it does its thing. It doesn't need to have willpower. It does what it does. We do what we do, and we happen to have willpower. We do what we do based on how we're designed. We choose and we act and react and respond based on how we're designed. We have the free will to act within our construct. So we don't need to question anything. There's nothing to worry about. There's no wrong choice to be made. It's all right. It's all right. It always has been, and it always will be. There's nothing to worry about. You've got the free will. But you're guided directly by your very being. You are God. You are the devil. There's no way around it. You are as much the universe as anything else. You're not separate from it. You are everything. You are completely, totally special. You are completely unique. But you're no different than anything else. To deny that you are unified is foolish. To think that you are separate is foolish. I love you. And welcome to the 420 Club. 4420 Club.